Right. Hi, Neil. Welcome to another week, another episode of the 10x Developer Podcast. It's good to
Things
have
are
you guys
things
join
are
us
things
today.
are moving so fast in AI. It's just kind of crazy, right? It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, same way we are also moving fast because we used to do Mondays, sometimes we do Wednesdays, and today is another Wednesday, and we are here,
Mm. Yeah.
right? So hopefully we things move slower in the coming week, and we'll be back to Monday. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, in AI, things are moving fast. So we have to really do it in the week. So if we can't do on
Mm.
Monday, we do Wednesday. We just have to find a way to do it within the week.
Yeah. Sometimes, sorry guys, sometimes our schedule doesn't work out. So,
Yeah.
all right,
All
we got a
right.
bunch of stories,
So,
right? Lots of AWS news, and you have one. Maybe you should start with your top
yeah,
story.
I think we had they had AWS had the reinvest thing.
Reinvent, invent.
Reinvent, yeah, the invent events. Yeah. So and they released a bunch of things, right? So we'll cover some of
So
them on
I
this episode.
never been to their conference, but
Yeah.
this is huge. Like thousands of
Yeah.
people shows up, right? I mean, they take
Yeah.
over they take over Las Vegas. I don't know whether they do it Las Vegas every year, because I know
Oh.
one of my colleague was there, and especially their after parties are mind blowing.
Wow, wow.
If you're one of those elite AWS customer, they throw
Yeah,
some parties.
so for white parties. Wow,
Yeah, yeah,
nice.
yeah. It's their
It's
biggest
really
event, I
nice.
believe. Yeah,
Oh yeah. I mean, I like that their own event is in December. Looks very Christmasish. You know,
yeah, yeah,
it's good that
yeah. I
they're
know.
in December. Yeah.
Maybe
All
it's
right. So
strategically placed too. Yeah, no, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Good strategy also. Good strategy because a lot of the events happen in the summer.
Mhm.
August, September. That's like when all tech events happen. Doing it in December, I think, is a good
Yeah.
strategy. Good
Mm.
strategy. All right. So our topic for today is very simple: Anthropic acquired bond. Which was the topic that everyone was talking about it on the internet, on Twitter. Everybody was talking about how Anthropic acquired bond, and I mean,
That's wild. Yeah.
it's wild, right? So Anthropic acquired bond, the fastest JavaScript runtime and tool chain. They acquired it to accelerate and stabilize its code-focused offerings, notably Cloud Code. So they bought this because they want to improve. They bought this for developer-facing AI products, building runtime, package management, and fast.js execution. So basically, they are trying to improve Cloud Code, and they bought
Yeah.
Bond,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So and Bond,
I mean, it logically makes
I'm
sense. But
just trying to look.
Cloud Code is such a revenue generating. I think they crossed $1 billion revenue just from Cloud Code.
Yeah, yeah,
So it
yeah.
makes
They cost
sense.
$1 billion from revenue. I
Mm.
mean, this goes back to the conversation we always have here, where we talk about open AI going for the general market, why
Mm.
Anthropic going for the developer market, right?
Yeah.
So
I didn't know
crossing a
that
billion dollar is a huge one.
their total revenues is more than $6 billion Anthropic. So it's pretty wild. And also heard
Wow,
rumors that they are probably going to go IPO next year.
wow.
That would
I'm
be
I'm going to buy
huge.
their stock
Yeah.
if they do.
If you get
I'm
lucky.
definitely going to buy.
Uh, so I saw an interesting tweet from Ivanu. I think he's the creator of Vue.js. He said,
Yeah.
"Hey, hey, OpenAI, do you want to buy us?" So that's
Well,
funny.
I mean, yeah, that's funny. I mean, it's good. It's good because it means that these things are AI for developer development is actually like getting stronger and stronger, right?
Yeah.
So, and the vision that AI is going to build the softwares of the future is becoming more and more visible. And with all these integrations, all these acquisitions, and everybody coming into merging into these tools means that these things are getting better. And then,
Yeah,
very soon we might start seeing one person build $1 billion company.
that's right. That's
That
right.
dream, it
Yeah,
might it might it
that's
might
right.
become true very soon. All right.
Yeah,
So
that's
for
true.
developers, what is in here for you is that you're going to get better runtime integration in AI assisted coding tools, especially Cloud Code. So which means you are going to get faster local execution and testing for AI generated code. So you're also going to get potential improvement on Cloud Code reliability and speed. You know, which means when you want to generate snippets and when you want to generate tests, it's going to be really fast for you.
Mhm.
Also, opportunity for teams to take advantage of improved tooling and rapid prototyping of generated code locally. And you're also going to get like tighter packaging and debugging support for JavaScript and TypeScript,
It's interesting.
programming language. Yeah, yeah.
It's very
So you're
interesting.
going to
Yeah,
get better support for these two things
that's
inside
cool. I
your
mean, better tool. I
IDE.
mean, yeah, better tool is better for us, right? Um,
Yeah, better for everybody.
so on the similar news for sort of making life easier for developers, um, AWS announced they made a bunch of announcements. So we're going to be only focusing on the announcement that's relevant to our context, which is AI. Um,
Yeah.
so they released what they call frontier agents, a new sort of AI workforce for software development. So they sort of introduced three types of agents. Um, but I think general theme is most of these agents are they're long running and autonomous. I think I read it somewhere. I don't see in my notes that some of their agent uh, even ran for 24 hours. And that's just
Hmm.
crazy having an agent on its own running for 24 hours to solve a problem. I
Wow.
know Replit and others are also doing it. Claude also has a mechanism, sort of long running. So there is a theme out there. I think what most of these companies are going after is they're trying to build agents that are more goal driven. So instead of, I mean, we're sort of maturing in this, right? I
Yeah.
remember a few months back, it was very task based, right? Do this for me, and you review the code, and then do this for me. Now it's becoming more like goal driven. Hey, go figure out a new architecture for this, or go build this whole module for me, and then agent will go off and build it. Maybe take a day or two, maybe days before you come back saying, "Hey,
Oh.
I've done it for you." Yeah, so they're goal driven, they're long running, and they're very productivity skills in terms of agentic tasks. So some of them going to be running in parallel.
Oh.
I have a strong sort of opinion around this running multiple agents in parallel, and I mentioned that before too, right? There is so much code review we can do as a team member, right? So much context we can, but
Yeah.
we have limits. So just because I can run 100 instances of Claude code necessarily doesn't mean I'll be able to manage them. So that's sort of my pushback on this. But anyway, this agent task can run in parallel, and longer agents mean work without interruption, greater for value. So they're trying to reduce that context switch that developers have to go through every time Claude comes back with a response or agent comes back with a response. That means you can assign bigger tasks to these agents, and they'll go off and do its work while you're busy doing your own important
Oh.
stuff. So they
Oh.
they sort
Wow.
of introduced three agents. So one is called Kiro, which is their autonomous software developer. Another agent they created is called AWS Security Agent. This is more like virtual security engineer, constantly sort of reviewing your stuff. And they have one more called DevOps Agent. So they're kind of looking at the whole spectrum of software development and building agents around that. Um,
Yeah.
so it's sort of fascinating. I mean, it obviously can have a persistent. Another thing I sort of interesting about Kiro was it can maintain persistent context. So that means if your agent is running for a day, imagine how much context is gathering, right? From the
Yeah.
outputs coming in. So apparently, this agent is sort of smart enough to keep that in mind and keep persistent knowledge. Even if it sort of crashes and rebounces, it will be able to pick up from there, essentially.
Oh. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I think I've used Kiro once just on something, right?
Mm,
And I also know a developer that heavily depends on Kiro for
mm.
most of
Oh,
his projects,
really?
right? The
That's
guy uses
interesting.
Kiro. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think And then also the idea of building for different spectrums. So and I like what
Yeah.
AWS is doing there. So they have sort of like have agents for, oh, you want to do deployment, you have this agent for you. You want to build apps, you have this agent for you. You want
Mm,
something you can use in your IDE, we also have something for you. I think
mm.
it's a very good strategy, and
Yeah.
I also think it's going to make the agents more, you know, more particular to the particular process that they are built for. So the
Yeah.
agent for deployment is going to
Yeah.
eventually get very good at deployment, almost better than the generic ones that we have out there.
So my only concern with this thing is that I haven't seen the pricing of this agents yet, which will be interesting to see. Because if an agent running for a
Okay.
day, Kiro, let's say Kiro running for a day, I mean, that means it's going to be burning through lots of tokens. What is that
Yeah.
ends up being? Like, at the end of the day, it builds a whole module or project for me and it comes back to $20, that's great. If it comes back to $500, that could be challenging. So I don't know how they're pricing it, but um,
Yeah.
so there is one more news I want to tag along with that, which is AWS. This I thought was very interesting and very useful. They created an open source
Yeah.
MCP server, what they call is an IAM policy autopilot. IAM is
Okay.
way, so just in a nutshell, I'm assuming every developer in here understands what IAM is. But if you're not familiar with AWS, this is sort of policy mechanism that sort of access management. If you're deploying a service
Yeah.
or a table, a product, or your AI agent, what that AI agent will have access to, you sort of declare that with IAM. Being we use AWS, I know how much Claude struggles to generate proper IAM policies because the the trick is AWS environment changes so much, the version changes, policy changes. One property change means that your service will not deploy. It's a very
Yeah.
painful experience working with AWS and Claude or in general agents because they sort of has old data, if you will, the training data, right? But AWS and new services are evolving all the time. So this essentially solved that fundamental problem. Now you can connect this MCP server with your whatever Claude Code, Cursor, Kiro, whatever you're using. Now suddenly your AI coding agent have sort of latest knowledge on IAM policies and how it works and generate proper policy documents for you. This is very useful. I will use this MCP server.
Hmm. Nice, 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 nice. I mean, also building it into an MCP is also something very nice.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate
Something
that
very
they sort of did it open source and local,
open source.
so you can
Yeah.
run it locally, so it's free of cost for you essentially.
All right. So I have sort of an interesting news here before we go to the new models that came out this week. So I have some of them covered in my story. So we have WordPress. So and this is very interesting to me because I mean, when I first learned how to code, and the most of the early stages in my career were mostly like WordPress websites because at some point it was giving a lot of money, right? I was a student in school. I was building WordPress websites to make money. So and yeah, I mean, I know I've not looked at WordPress in like 4 years, right? So it's really, and it's good to see them pop up in the AI space. So it's something very simple. They built an SDK for um, built what they called AI Client SDK in their new WordPress 6.9. So apparently they released WordPress 6.9, which is like the latest version of WordPress out there. So in this release, they have what they call built-in WordPress AI clients. So this is going to standardize how plugins and themes talk to AI services. So this SDK means that this SDK is meant to avoid every plugin ruling on its own fragile API wiring, giving the ecosystem a common extensible layer for integrating LLMs and other AI providers, right? So
Mm,
for developers, what this means is that you are provided with a unified client abstraction for calling AI providers from WordPress plugins
mm,
instead of the custom one-off integrations, right? So also it reduces security and privacy risk for centralized token handling
mm.
and
That's
configuration
interesting.
in core. Yeah. So, and I think this is very important, especially the privacy and the security thing with the token, because the way API keys are handled in WordPress is something most of the people that use this to WordPress are mostly like people that are not some of them are mostly not very technical people, right? So I've always wondered how they are dealing with the whole API keys and then try to do some integrations and build,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think this is going to be very, very interesting, and this is going to help them solve a lot of problems, and especially in terms of what themes and plugin, because everything on WordPress is plugin, everything is plugin.
Right.
You want to generate a code plugin, you want to do sign in plugin, you want to do login plugin, right? So
So
everything
I
is plugin.
wonder how much of their business is sort of taken over by vibe coding. Like pre-vibe
Yeah,
coding, WordPress was a way for non-technical folks or technical folks to quickly spit out a site, right?
yeah.
Now
So
with vibe coding option, I mean, it's yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
what I'm thinking is because they have a very huge ecosystem, right?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, they have a very big ecosystem. So I'm thinking that very soon we are going to probably start seeing things like Lovable for WordPress, right? Maybe we have, sort of like a Lovable plugin where you just go, you type in your prompts and then it secrets, you know. Because
Yeah.
there's also the CMS bit part of it where you have the content management system, right? Where
Right. Right.
you have all these other things happening on the back end.
That's
So
true.
maybe I'm thinking maybe we'll start seeing like Cloud Code plugin for WordPress, right? This plugin
Mhm.
for WordPress. So I'm hoping maybe
Mhm.
the WordPress developers out there, if you're listening to this, maybe you should build plugins for
Oh,
this service
there's tons of plugins, AI plugins. I guess that's
Yeah,
what they're trying to solve with this SDK that they're building.
yeah,
It
yeah,
will be interesting to see their stats by usage numbers, whether that has gone down now that prompt to apps are sort of real, right? And
yeah.
for some folks, it might be like you said. I mean, the plugins could be a little overwhelming for lots of folks. Like, what should I do if I want to add a chat feature to my site? There are now 100 plugins that you have to go through. You have to drop the keys and stuff. So
Okay,
maybe
okay.
that's one of the things they're trying to solve.
So I just wrote that down in the notes. So next week I'm going to look for the WordPress stats for you, and then
Yeah. Okay.
you get
Okay. That'll be
right, yeah,
interesting, right? I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, I would, if I want to quickly build something just for kicks, I'll probably just go to V0 or Lovable and build that out. WordPress
yeah,
will not be in my mind. I wonder whether that's true for others or not. So it'll be interesting. Okay,
yeah.
so I know you're going to be talking about DeepSeek releases, right? So I'm going to talk about Mistral. This was interesting. So Mistral, we talked about. This is a French AI company. It's one of the biggest one in Europe, obviously. They have released three new models. Um, uh, a smaller series, 14 billion to 8 billion to 3 billion parameters. Okay. Um, all are Apache 2 license. That means it's sort of open source. You should be able to use them. Kudos to them to doing that. Now they released something
Yeah.
that I thought was very fascinating, which is their 3 billion parameter model, which has vision capabilities. And I tried that yesterday, and it works very well. That what essentially means is that you can, and they have an app for that. I'll share the link with that. From it, you can build an web app that's running in the browser. That web app could download the 3 billion model, running everything running locally on your browser and work.
Wow.
Yeah, so they created this sort of example of that where it works in a browser using web GPU. I'll share the link with you. Give it a shot, guys. This is just feels so cool. I mean, this feels like future right here. Um, that it will just connect to your webcam and it will just describe what it's seeing through the camera. So just to demonstrate its vision capabilities. Um,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So it's pretty fascinating stuff.
I mean, it's interesting that we're seeing. I think Mistral is from Asia, right? Is an
No,
Asia,
French company, Europe.
French company, yeah, Europe. Okay. Yeah. I mean, seeing all these models, I'm trying to pull up this tweet I'm seeing here. So today is just 3rd December, right? And then we've
Yeah,
seen the release of.
Yeah, if you have a good network, downloading 3 billion, what is that? It comes to 3 gig, or what's the size? I don't remember. I was able to get it up and running within 10 seconds. It connected my web
Wow.
app, webcam, and it was describing what was saying.
Wow.
Real time. The latency was just, the speed was just crazy.
That's very interesting, though. I mean, you,
And I immediately started thinking, what can I hack on with this? This is such a cool technology. What can I build with this? All running locally in your browser for free.
wow. And it can describe things, anything it sees. I just
Describe
point
things,
to the
yeah.
camera
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then it
describe things.
sees.
I just point camera and it's describing real time.
Wow.
Yeah, cool stuff,
Wow.
man.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, this is crazy how these technologies have moved. I can remember working on something that has to do with vision, right? Vision model. It was a school project, and I had to, download load the whole of OpenCV. You have to start looking at the models.
That's right.
It, it,
That's
took,
right.
it took a lot of
Right.
time, and it was
Oh yeah.
frustrating. My computer
Oh
was
yeah.
dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now having to spin up stuff like this is crazy. Maybe I will try to rebuild some of my old
Yeah.
projects and just see what is possible these days
Yeah.
and
So
see what's possible.
in theory, you should be able to. I never thought of this. I actually built some version of this back in days. But in theory, you should be able to use gesture to control your screen using this model.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you should
when
do this.
you
Move that window from here to here, and do that, and it can manipulate your web page because it's running on web page. It can use DOM to manipulate all these elements. So totally,
wow.
like Iron Man
Wow.
stuff, man. The
Yeah.
Jarvis. Yeah.
Wow. Nice. All right. So just this week, this December is day 3, and we've seen the launch of a lot of things. Maybe next week we'll be able to like show you the other stuff that launched this month. So we've seen DeepSeek new version 3.2 model. But anyway, the story I have here is that DeepSeek open sources their Maths V2. I don't know if you remember this Maths V2. There was this Maths V2 model was is the first model to achieve gold in IMO 2025 with verifiable reasoning, right? So
Mhm.
it was a model that participated in this math competition, right? And then he got almost a perfect score. He got about 118 over 120 in Putnam
Was
2024.
that DeepSeek?
Yes, that was
Okay.
DeepSeek, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
there was the other one that um Gemini,
Yeah.
scored highest in. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was the other one with Gemini, right? Yeah. So, but this one was the model that won it 2024 is called the Putnam competition or something like that, right? And
Mhm.
this particular model they had made it free, right? And is
Mhm.
available for everyone, open source, and it was trained on 294,000 hybrid thinking models. So it verifies its own source. Anytime it solves a mathematical problem, it tries to like verify its own source and grade itself, right? So turning flaky AI maths into reliable theorem proving gold for devs tackling symbolic AI and scientific computing. So if you're trying to solve anything that is very complex, right, you can pull up this model. It runs locally on your machine. It is free to use, trained on 294,000 hybrid models, and it can solve interesting math problems. And then also on the benchmark for mathematical models, it also ranks very, very high from what I can see here on my screen. So, and then, the whole double verifiable stuff where it delivers a solution and then it goes to score itself, try to do nested AI grading, and ensures that it has like 99% accuracy before it gives you anything. So, I think it's an interesting one. And then, yeah, you guys might want to check it out. I'm dropping the links in the chat.
This is pretty cool. Cool. I mean, their benchmarks obviously look impressive, but I mean, we all know how I feel about the real benchmarks here.
Everybody,
But
everybody
it's
is rigging benchmarks. Everybody is stopping benchmark when they launch. What happens? What happens months
So
later?
that's what I was talking about. I don't know if I mentioned this in last podcast, but it's worth mentioning it again. I feel like every organization should build their own internal benchmark.
Yeah,
That's the only way to know that is truly improving for you. I think that's probably more important. Who cares if topped in a math? If it doesn't empower your agents or it's not solving your problem, it really doesn't matter, right? So they should
yeah,
definitely build. But I do see in my notes that they made some really key innovations on this model, right? Their sparse
yeah,
attention stuff. They spend tons of money on. They actually invested tons of money on post training. So maybe that's what is giving this numbers. Post training essentially, guys. Just a quick recap. Post training is essentially like this is where you kind of instruct the model to be expert on something. Pre-training is where you feed the whole world knowledge base. Post-training is how you make this models follow your instructions, right? So they've spent considerable amount of money on that, and that definitely shows. This is good. I mean, this is gonna keep pressure on OpenAI and Google and others to innovate. I mean, it will obviously open source would be sort of little behind than the closed models, but it's good to see that the gap is closing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's good to see that the gap is closing. So yeah, on my screen here, I was just trying to pull up the benchmark results for DeepSeek version 3.2. I mean, last week
Mhm,
we looked at Anthropic, right? The
mhm,
cloud,
mhm,
their new model, right? So this is the one for this is the official release page for the latest DeepSeek version 3.2. So as we can see their reasoning capabilities, and then it's obviously topping most of the other models here. So this is their thinking model. So they have about two types. They have the thinking and the special type. So the thinking type ranks on reasoning. It tops OpenAI GPT-5,
mhm,
it tops
mhm,
Claude, and then it
mhm,
tops Gemini 3 Pro.
mhm.
So Gemini 3 Pro is at 97.5, while these guys, DeepSeek 3.2 is at 99.2. Maybe maybe we're going to see someone maybe we're going to see someone says, oh, my model is 100% very soon, and then I wonder what the rest of the other people say.
And you know how that happens, right? When they will go, will create a new benchmark. I think there is a one benchmark. I forgot the name. The last human test or something like that, and
Yeah,
most of the models still struggle there. So we have to create new benchmarks, right? So,
yeah,
um, so it's very interesting. Um, it's good. I mean, I that QWEN model is also very popular. I'm good to see all this coming out, including Mistral. So great week for open source.
yeah. Great
Um,
week for open source.
I do have one news article that I wanted to share. This is more like a blog. I will drop the link. Someone went in, and I liked. I'm a sucker for blogs like this. Someone went in and sort of created a minimal version of a coding agent called Pi, and what is the minimalist version we can create, and kind of shared his experience building it. So if you're a software developer sort of
Hmm.
interested in how how actually this coding agent works, the link that I dropped will be an amazing source for that. And it's beautiful to see that. I mean, his core principle was the what's the minimum thing I can do to make build a working coding agent. And I realized when I was building a coding agent last year, I mean, I made lots tons of mistakes, and it was good to see in this blog that that he took lots of decisions, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, in my case, my system prompt was huge, and he went in with just a one-line system prompt saying, "You're a coding agent," um, which which is sort of fascinating to also see how these models are evolving, because as models are becoming so powerful in reasoning and coding, you don't have to prompt that much. Um, So it goes back to we keep saying, right? The models are evolving so fast. What used to be best practices for prompt and context engineering might not be true anymore. So this is always that constant
Yeah.
learning that we have to go through to figure it out.
Hmm.
That's sort of all I got. I mean, I know AWS has a bunch of other stuff they released. I don't know whether it's worth mentioning, but do you have any other stories before you wrap up?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I have this one last one that
Mhm.
says, I'm not sure about this story because I'm still trying to, like, I was looking it up, but it looks interesting, right?
Oh, I
So,
do have one interesting one. I'll share after you. Go ahead.
okay, yeah. So they said Cocoon Network open source AI compute for Telegram ecosystem, right? So apparently, the owner of Telegram, the social media app, um, launched this. He owns this other company called Cocoon Network, right? So they go live and they launch this open source, stun distributed AI compute layer. So I guess this is sort of like related to blockchain and all those things. So this thing is supposed to process requests while paying GPU owners in Thorn network. So I guess they are trying to, I did testnet back in the days. If you know how blockchain testnet works, where you make your computer available and they use your computer, to
Correct. For the
sign
compute.
transactions over the
Yeah.
over the computer. Yeah. So he launched something like this, a compute for AI, and then he made it available, made it open source, where people can go in. So if I have my own GPU, I can plug in my own device, and then I make some money when they generate computing powers
Mhm.
through my GPU or my network or something like that. Right. So I think it's sort of interesting because I've always been thinking about AI and Web3, AI and blockchain. Where at what point are they going to meet? I mean, in the past, from 2020, everybody swore blockchain was the next big thing. It was how the world is
So
going to be the end of technology
is
and
it
all
for
those things.
training or is it for inference? Is it for running queries or
So I think
remember
it's
when we talked about this, right? When inputs, remember back in this, we talked about why input tokens are cheaper than the output tokens. You know how
yeah,
companies price it differently, right? Because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, the inputs they can process parallel, but for output, it has to be sequential. So
It
to
has to be
understand what is
sequential. Yeah,
so
yeah.
that
So
begs the question is how are you going to decentralize that thing? So I don't know.
how are you going to decentralize that? Yeah, I mean,
So
we'll see.
use case,
We'll see what
yeah,
happens in
use case
coming
going to
years.
be interesting. Yeah, maybe it doesn't have to
Yeah,
be
the use
LLM,
case will
right?
be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I have this
yeah,
funny one. This is not developer related. This is more robotics. I don't know.
yeah.
Humanoid robot. So again, this is from China. So okay. So they built this commercial humanoid robot called AGI bot A2. That's a model called. Apparently, this
Okay.
robot walked walked 106
Oh,
kilometers, which is like 66 miles over 3 days,
okay.
non-stop, non-stop. This humanoid
Wow.
robot was going from one city, Suzhou to Shanghai on its own. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what for 3 days? I mean, I think this is some sort of Guinness record, maybe if Guinness counts this as a. I mean, yeah, this is pretty impressive. Having a robot walking
Wow.
that all by itself. What caught my attention was it finished the whole trek without a single shutdown. So immediately that begs the question: is that dude? How is this humanoid is even powering itself? Apparently, it knows how to swap its own batteries. Yeah,
How is that
because
possible?
one battery charge will not hold you for 3 days, right? So
Yeah.
it's self managed swapping batteries. What I don't know is that how much of this it did it on its own versus some team helped them somehow.
Yeah.
But it apparently knows how to swap batteries and walk for 3 days nonstop,
Wow. That
zero
is
shutdowns, zero shutdown.
wow.
which I
So I
thought
guess
was
they must have told
fascinating.
it to maybe when your battery gets to 10%, take it off and then put the new one, then maybe charge with solar or something.
But you
That
know how
must,
this how I shared the drop the link there. There is a video of that too. Uh,
yeah.
but while you take out your battery, you still
How do
need
you
battery
say?
to put the other battery, right?
Oh yeah. So maybe there's like a backup battery that goes off after some time. You know the way you have
Something something that I
some
thought that
cars
was
cars
fascinating.
actuators. Wow, that's like that's going to be a very interesting engineering work going on there.
Yeah. I know they're obviously China and other countries are making it.
Yeah.
That's the future, right? Humanoid robots
Yeah.
coming. Um,
Yeah, that's very interesting. So guys, it's been an interesting week, an interesting another interesting week in AI. It's interesting to see all these things come up and all these innovations, all this engineering come up on this in this space, right? So we're here to cover it for you. That's why we have this 10x Developer podcast, everything AI. So if you're watching this for the first time, please do well to subscribe, join us on, follow our YouTube channel. Also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, yes, LinkedIn. We are live on LinkedIn right now. We are live on Twitter. We are live on YouTube. So make sure to follow us on any of these platforms. And then we have a lot of interesting things coming for you. And then yeah, see you next week. Next week is going to be on a Wednesday. So yeah, see you this
and we
time next
might
week.
we might do a very special episode.
Yeah, we
This
might do a very
Yeah,
special episode. Yeah, yeah.
we'll see. Okay.
We'll
All
see.
right.
Yeah.
Thanks,
All
man.
right,
Take care.
guys.